Marie is a research professor at HEC Paris, and she's CNRS, which is something very prestigious in France, and in French also. She finished her thesis in 2012, if I remember well, yes. And she got the thesis award of the French Economic Association. She published in top journals, including Math FOR and Journal of Economic Theory. So we are very happy, Marie, to have you today. And Marie will be talking about robust communication on networks. So the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you.
Let me just mention that the seminar is recorded. So if you want to shut down your camera, feel free, or it depends on what you prefer.
That's not a problem. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very happy to present at your department, even if it's online and not far away. So this is a joint paper with Ludovic Renoux and Xavier Venel on robust communication on network, or cheap talk on network. So to go straight to the point, the main theoretical question is about the study of sender-receiver games on communication network. Okay, so what I call communication network is when the sender and the receiver are distant nodes on the network, and so they cannot talk directly together. So they have to talk to some intermediaries in the network. Okay. And the main question is that we ask when it is possible to what we call robustly implement equilibrium outcomes. So I will define robustly later, but so we want to implement the equilibrium outcome of direct communication games, which are the equilibrium outcome of classical sender-receiver game when people can talk directly to each other. And we want to implement them, this equilibrium outcome are equilibrium outcome of the indirect communication game. So basically when the sender and the receiver are distant nodes and they cannot talk directly together. Okay, they have to talk to intermediaries. And we want to look at when is it possible, for which network is it possible to implement all the equilibria of the direct communication game via the communication through a network. So what is robustness? Robustness, we impose two requirements. The first one is that we want that the implementation is independent of the preferences of the intermediaries, meaning that it can be for if the intermediaries have the same preferences of the sender and the receiver, it will be easy, but we can imagine also the worst case scenario where the intermediaries have complete opposite preferences from the sender, for instance, and the receiver. And so they might want to manipulate the information or distort it. So we want that it's robust to any preferences of the intermediaries, so preferences that we might not know. And the second requirement is that we want that the implementation is guaranteeing at all history consistent with at most one intermediary deviating at every stage. But we want that it is consistent with even sequence of intermediaries, different intermediaries deviating at each stage. Okay. So the main result, and then I go back to some motivation just afterward, but just to give you the main idea is if we assume that the sender and the receiver are not directly connected, otherwise it's trivial. And then we have that robust implementation is possible if and only if there are at least two disjoint points of communication between the sender and the receiver. So what we just need is that if we have a network of communication with the sender and the receiver, we just need to have two disjoint paths, so with no node in common into the two different paths. Then the network might be larger. You might have some links there. You might have other, okay, it can be bigger networks, okay? But what we just need is that there is at least two paths, two disjoint paths of communication between them. So this simplest network that we have is, for instance, if you have only two intermediaries, like this. Okay, this is the simplest one. Okay. Okay, so some motivations. The first one is that if we consider large organizations like public administration or big corporations, we often have information which goes through different layers of the organization, for instance, from the engineers to executives, or from the accountants to executives, etc. And communication is thus indirect. But although indirect communication is necessary in large organization, then it will create the opportunity for some people to distort the information or try to manipulate it or suppress it, delete it, to achieve their own goal. So the main question is, are there organizational arrangements which can mitigate these issues? And one answer is that, yes, there is. It's what's called matrix organization or matrix arrangement. So what it consists in? What it consists in organizing activities along several dimensions. So, for instance, like some functions like R&D, accounting or sales, or along geography to organize a different department between different continents, or according to projects. So there are a lot of firms like this which have adopted such mode of organization, like NASA, IBM, Starbucks, or Siemens. And one central feature of this organization is what we call multiple reporting, and in particular that information flow via different channels. And the channels are according to the different dimensions along which the organization is built. And so we have different lines of reportings, which we call different paths of communication in a network. And it explains why matrix organizations facilitate effective communication. Okay. We have a second motivation, which is more theoretical, which is about sequential rationality. So if we ask instead of requiring, remember that we ask that it is robust to all sequence of unilateral deviation. Okay, but assume we had required instead the implementation to be guaranteed at all on-pass history instead. Okay. And so imagine that we have a situation where the sender and the receiver, they want to match the state. Okay, they have the same preferences, but the intermediaries, on the contrary, they want to unmatch the state. So then we have that truth telling. It is an equilibrium of the direct communication game between the sender and the receiver because they have exactly the same preferences. And we have a distribution which is induced mu over states and action, which is the worst outcome for an intermediary because an intermediary has the complete opposite preferences from the sender and the receiver. Okay. So now if we consider an indirect communication game where you have the sender, the receiver, and some intermediary, and consider an equilibrium which induces this distribution mu. So if an intermediary deviates at this at some set information set, then by definition of an equilibrium, we want the resulting distribution to be mu. Okay, but then at any information set flows that follows, okay, the same must be true. Okay, even if some player, an intermediary, observe a deviation, the resulting distribution to be an equilibrium still must be mu. Okay, so the same idea, the idea is that our requirement is almost necessary if sequential rationality is enforced. It's only almost because we only consider that it is possible, for instance, if you have two parts of the networks. Okay, we want the implementation of the good outcome, even if there is first a deviation of this node as stage 1 and then of this node as stage 2. Okay, which is a bit stronger than what is necessary from a sequential rationality point of view, because the second player is not aware of the deviation of the first player, okay, because he's far away in the network, so it's not possible that he has seen the deviation of the first player at the stage 1. Okay, so we ask for a stronger requirement, but it is almost necessary to have it if we want to impose sequential rationality in the communication game. And as we will show, it is sufficient. Okay, so it will be sufficient if we have robust implementation of in the network, then it will be sufficient to have to construct equilibrium with sequential rationality on the network.
Marie, may I ask a clarification question?
Yes.
What the players know when the game starts.
When the game starts, I will define the model just after. So about that. So
okay,
simply the sender as the sender knows the state of the world. There is a state of the world. All the payoffs depend on the standard state of the of everybody depend on the state of the world and the action of the receiver. And that's all the information. The sender knows the state of the world, and the others, they don't know anything. But they can communicate.
I mean, the topology of the network is known to everyone?
Yes, the topology is known. Okay. Yes? Is there a question? No? Okay, the third motivation is that even if the fact that we have a stronger requirement of robustness than what is needed for sequential rationality, I just want to add that the characterization would be the same if we had the simplest one. Okay, if we are, because imposing a stronger robustness requirement does not necessitate more paths. Okay, we have all to connected network, which are for which the characterization is that we can have robust implementation for all network with 2 disjoint bytes, and it will be the same even with a simple requirement. Okay, an easier requirement. Okay. Also, an additional result that I will talk a bit about that in the end is that, in fact, we can also replicate all the equilibrium, what we call the communication equilibrium distribution of the mediated communication game as equilibrium outcome of undirected and unmediated communication game. So imagine that if we take all the communication equilibria between the sender and the receiver of the direct game, so it's when we assume that the communication equilibria, it's when there is a mediator who gives some, okay, we'll talk about that later. But so there is a, if we take, when there is a mediator, okay, we can replicate that without a mediator, okay, and the characterization is the same, it's for all network with 2 disjoint paths, okay? So in fact, it implies that indirect communication can help achieving more outcome, okay, than the direct communication game. So typically, if you take just, if the sender and the receiver could talk directly, but if we had some intermediaries and if we had 2 disjoint paths, then it is possible to achieve more outcome and also outcome which are more favorable for both the sender and the receiver for some payoff function. Okay. The only thing that the only inconvenient about that it's come at a cost, because as we will see, the communication will take a lot of iteration, especially to implement communication equilibrium. Okay, are there questions so far? So I will start with the model. So we have a sender and the receiver, and the sender know what payoff relevant state, sorry, omega. So from a finite state space omega, and we have that the receiver can take an action A, and the payoff of the sender and the receiver is UI, and it depends on both the action of the receiver and the state of the world for both players. So what is a direct communication game? It's when the sender sends a message M to the receiver prior, and then the receiver takes an action A. Okay, so it's in 2 stages. First, the sender sends a message to the receiver, then the receiver takes an action. Okay, it is pure cheap talk, so there is no certification and no commitment. The sender can lie or can say whatever he wants. And we call ED the set of equilibrium distribution over A times omega. Okay, so this is a direct communication game, and the question will be, when can we replicate all this distribution in ED, the equilibrium distribution, when communication is not direct? So the indirect communication game is when the sender and the receiver are far nodes in a network, in a communication network N, which is an undirected graph. Okay, so we have a network, for instance, like this. Okay. And the sender and the receiver, they cannot talk directly. They have to go through some intermediaries in the network. So the communication game will be a multi-stage game where people can talk at every stage, okay, in a finite number of periods. And at each stage, we ask that the player can broadcast messages to each possible subset of its neighbor. So what is broadcasting? Broadcasting means that when you broadcast a message to a subset of neighbors, so for instance, the sender broadcasts a message to all his neighbors, for instance, all this one, so E1, E2, E3 here. It means that you will send the same message to all of them, and all of them will know that it's a common belief among them that they receive the same message. So for instance, it can be carbon copy emails, okay, where you know the list of the recipients of the email. So you know they received the same message as you. It can be face-to-face group meetings, online meeting via Zoom, for instance, etc. WhatsApp group, all of that, okay? So when it is broadcast, there is some certification about the list of recipients of the message. Okay, you know that all these people receive the same message. So we ask that each player at each stage can broadcast to any subset of neighbor, meaning that he can send the sender at any stage can send a message to I1, I2, I3, which is broadcasted, okay? So all of them know that they have received the same message, but at the same time, he can send also a message to only the two first intermediaries and also to I1 and I3, etc. Okay? The subset contain also, it includes private messages because you can broadcast to only one player, for instance, I1. So you can also send private messages via this technology. Okay, so this is very large. You have some public message when you can broadcast to all of your neighbors, or private message if you broadcast to only one of them, or a mixture of it when you broadcast to some subset of players. Okay. Okay, so we have Sigma will be a profile of strategies, okay, for each player, the sender, the receiver, and the intermediaries. And we will define what we call Sigma. Sigma will be the subset of strategy which are consistent with at most one intermediary deviating at each stage from Sigma. Okay, so that is, we assume that a strategy Sigma prime will be in Sigma Sigma if there is a sequence of intermediaries such that at each stage, okay, the profile Sigma prime is such that there is only one intermediary who is deviating. It might be different intermediary. Maybe the first intermediary is deviating at stage 1, then the second one, then the third one. But there is at most one intermediary who deviates at each stage. So what is precisely what we call robust communication?
Yes. Excuse me. Yes. Sorry for the interruption. I'm not sure I understand correctly. What does it mean that an intermediary deviates at some stage?
So but we will construct some strategy. It's deviating from a strategy. So here, for instance, I assume that there is a strategy Sigma, and I will say that you can deviate from Sigma, meaning playing something else than this strategy. So typically, we will construct some equilibrium, some protocol of communication, and we want that at most so it will be an equilibrium. That's why we focus on unilateral deviation. But the communication protocol will be robust if when people follow this protocol, this strategy, there is at most one of them who deviates at each stage.
Thank you.
Okay, so what we call the implementation of direct communication will be called robust. It will be possible on the network end if there exists a communication gap, okay, such that we need 3 requirements. We need that it is for all profile of utilities of intermediary, so whatever the utilities of the intermediary. And we want that for all equilibrium distribution mu of the direct communication gain. We want that there exists an equilibrium sigma of the communication game on the network that satisfies that all profile which are sigma prime, which is sigma sigma induce mu, meaning that all profile of strategy such that there is at most one player who deviates from the equilibrium sigma at each stage, all this profile will induce mu. So the implementation will be robust to, we will construct a communication protocol, a strategy sigma, which will be an equilibrium, we'll put that, such that even if for any sequence of unilateral deviation of any players, there will the equilibrium distribution mu of the direct communication game will be implemented. Okay. So the main theorem is that robust implementation is possible on the network N if and only if there exist two disjoint paths of communication between the sender and the receiver. Okay, so if we have a network with two disjoint paths, we will construct a communication protocol on this network such that we can replicate all the equilibria of the direct game, even if the communication is now restricted through a network. Okay. So let's just look at an example to see what are the difficulties. So imagine that we want the sender here who wants to truthfully report the state. Okay. So a naive idea would be, okay, there is 3 disjoint paths. So maybe we could use the majority judgment. We know that the sender will send the message M, for instance. It will broadcast it as the first stage. And then all of them will transmit. And even if there are unilateral deviations, the receiver will do a majority rule to learn the message M. Okay, because basically that's what we need to do. Okay, we need in the direct communication game, the sender can just send the message M to the receiver, and the receiver have it. Now there is a network, so when the sender wants to send the message M to the receiver, it has to go through the network, and we want to construct some protocols such that the receiver will learn the correct message after some stages. Okay. The problem here is that the basic idea like this, majority argument does not work. So for instance, imagine that the sender sends the message M at the first stage, but then imagine that at the second stage, so at the first stage, the sender sends the message M. At the second stage, imagine that player 1 deviates, no, sorry, not the message M, the message omega, which is the real state. But imagine then at stage 2, player 1 deviates by lying, and instead of reporting, assumes that people are supposed to truthfully report the truth, and player 1 deviates and reports the message omega prime, for instance. Then, since we assume that there is only one unilateral deviation at this stage, player 2 and 3, they continue sending omega. But imagine then that at stage t equals 3, it is player 5 who deviates and report omega second. Player 4 and 6, they repeat what they have been told. So player 4 repeats omega prime and player 6 repeats omega. Now the receiver received omega prime, omega second, and omega. Okay, so he cannot do any majority rule to learn which is the correct messages. And most importantly, it will be exactly the same. You will have received exactly the same messages in another history where the true message was omega prime. Okay, if you assume that the real message is in fact omega prime and the sender sends a message omega prime, but assume now that at the stage 2, sorry, at stage 2, player 3 deviates by reporting omega, then omega prime is reporting by 1 and 2, and then player 5 deviate by reporting omega second. Then we get exactly the same message in the end. The receiver receives exactly the same message, omega prime, omega second, omega, and he cannot he cannot figure out the differences. The histories are exactly the same for him. If it is the real state is omega, or if the real state is omega prime. Okay, so a simple majority judgment is not enough to learn correctly the right message. Okay. Okay, so I'll give you an idea. Simplified protocol. So it will be simplified because it is in the simple networks with only 4 players, the sender, the receiver, and 2 intermediaries. But it gives an idea of the general protocol for general networks. So assume we have this network, we have 2 intermediaries, 1 and 2, and so the sender and the receiver, they can only talk to player 1 and player 2. They cannot talk directly. So the communication we will construct so that the sender can transmit his message correctly to the receiver will be in 6 stages. Okay, so at the first stage, we will have that the sender will broadcast a message M. Okay, and we want in the end, at the end of the protocol, that the receiver will correctly learn the message M. So how we do that at all stages from 2 to 6, we will have several things. So first, the two intermediaries, they are supposed to broadcast the message M. Okay, so what I mean broadcast is to broadcast to all of the neighbors. Okay, to broadcast publicly. So at stage from 2 to 6, player 1 is supposed to send the message M to both the sender and the receiver. At the same time, we will assume that player 1 and 2, they are supposed to broadcast to all their neighbors publicly 2 keys, which we call X1T and X2T, which are uniform in DRAM in 0, 1. Okay, so at each step, they will do what we call some authentication keys, and they will broadcast it to both the sender and the receiver. Okay, it will be used to encode some information at some point. Okay, so at each stage, for instance, the sender and the receiver, they both know that they have received the authentication key of player 1 and 2 and the same keys. Okay. Now, what happens if there is some deviation? So imagine that if player 1 or respectively player 2 does not broadcast the message M at some stage T, then the sender will broadcast a message 1T x 1T. So what does that mean? It means that the sender will broadcast a message, so it will send to player 1 and player 2 the message saying, okay, player 1, so the first thing is player 1 deviating at stage T, and his authentication key at that stage was x1T. Okay, so basically you interpret that the sender sees that player 1 is deviating, okay, because he had broadcast the message M prime, although it should be broadcasting the message M. So the sender sees that there is a deviation, and it transmits that to player 2 by saying, okay, player 1 deviating at stage T, and I give you what was his authentication key at that stage. Then player 1 and player 2, when they receive some message like this with some keys, they are supposed to transmit it. So in the previous case, player 2 at the next stage will transmit this key to player R. It will transmit the message 1T x 1T. And at some point, if the sender 1 or 2 does not broadcast the T at some stage T, when he was supposed to do it, you should transmit it at the next stage, at stage T plus 1. So for instance, if the sender sees the deviation of player 1, but then deviates and does not send the message, he's supposed to send it afterwards, except if he keeps deviating by not sending it. But if he stops deviating at some point, he should send it afterwards. Now, how the receiver does interpret all these messages. So first, if you receive the same message, the message from M1, from both intermediaries is the same as some stage T, then it decodes it as the correct message, okay? And it takes an action accordingly. Because if you receive the same message at some point, the receiver knows that both player 1 and 2, they know the real message because they have received it from the sender at the first stage. So if at some stage both of them repeat the same message, it must be the real message because they cannot be deviating both at the same time. Okay, so it means that there is at least one of them not deviating, and then it is the real message. Okay, otherwise, if it's not the case, if you only receive different message from intermediaries 1 and 2, then at the end of this last stage, say 6, the receiver will analyze these messages. Okay. So first of all, if there is 3 stages, T1, T2, T3, where the receiver receives 3 times the same message from one intermediary, and on top of that, if he did not receive before stage T3 the authentication key X of this intermediary regarding the first stage, then it will be decoded as the right message. Okay, this MI will be the correct message, and the receiver will take his action accordingly. Okay, otherwise, it is not decoded as a right message. Okay, so why does it work? So first, assume that we have that the message M1, which is sent by the intermediary 1, okay, at 3 stages, it sends that this message at stage T1, T2, and T3. Okay, so for instance, it can be stage 2, 3, and 4, or 2, 5, and 6, etc. suppose first that M1 is not the correct message sent by S. Okay, so this was a deviation from the intermediary one. Then it means that player 1 has deviated at all these stages, stage T1, T2, T3. Okay, because otherwise he would have sent the correct messages, which is not M1. So then it means that S and 2 were not deviating at this 3 stage because we consider only unilateral deviation. So it means that the sender and player 2, they were not deviating at stage T1, T2, and T3. So it means that the sender will, according to the protocol we construct, will broadcast the message 1T1, X1T1 at or before stage T2. Okay, because it either at stage T2, but even previously was not deviating, but at most at stage T2 is not deviating, and he will broadcast the sender this message saying player 1 is deviating at stage T1 by sending the wrong message, and his authentication key at stage T1 is X1T1. Therefore, and we notice that player 2 will transmit this message at most at stage T3, okay, because it's not deviating at stage T3. So it means that the receiver will receive before stage T3, he will receive the correct, he will receive the message saying that player 1 is deviating with the correct authentication key. And what he will do, he will look at the authentication key X1T1, and he will look back at his past messages because he received this message. Okay, the receiver is a neighbor of player 1. So he received this authentication key at stage T1. So he will look and he will see, okay, are these two authentication key match? And if they match, then it means that it's really the sender who sent it because player 2 has no idea to guess correctly this authentication key, which was uniformly drawn in 0-1. Okay, so the probability of 2 guessing correctly the authentication key is 0. So it means that if it is the correct one, it is the sender who gave this information to 2. It means that indeed player 1 deviated at stage 1. At stage T1, sorry. And therefore, the receiver does not decode M1 as the correct message. So it's not possible to decode a wrong message as the correct message. Now, if M1 on the contrary is the correct message sent by the sender, then we have 2 cases. The first one, either the sender never deviates, and then the receiver will never receive the right key X1T1 before T3 because the probability of 2 guessing correctly the key is 0, since it's uniformly drawn in 0-1. Okay, and 2 is not a neighbor of player 1, so it does not know that key. Then R will decode M1 as the correct message. Now, if S deviates at some stage T, okay, for instance, by pretending that player 1 is deviating, although it did not, but under unilateral deviation, it means that at this stage T, neither 1 or 2 will be deviating because we only consider unilateral deviation, and then both we send the same message, M1 equal M2 equal M. And then the receiver will decode M1 as the correct message. Okay, so this is a protocol, and what we have that if S, even if S deviates at some stage T, the receiver will learn the correct message at stage T, okay, because then both 1 and 2 will send the correct message. But if S never deviates, then there must exist a sequence of 3 stages, T1, T2, T3, where either 1 or 2 or both broadcast 3 times the correct message. Why? Because since we consider only unilateral deviation, whenever player 1 does not broadcast the correct message, player 2 is doing it. Okay, so there will be a sequence. It's not possible for all of them to deviate all the time. And since there are 5 stages of reporting, there will be such a sequence of correct messages. And so in the end, with this protocol, the receiver at the end of stage 6 will learn correctly the right message. Are there any questions? Okay, so this is the simplified version of the protocol. If the network is in the general case, it's a bit it's a bit more tricky, but it's just we just extend this protocol to a general network. So if we have, let's see, a network like this with 2 disjoint paths, so with intermediary E1, etc., and G1, K, L. So this is a network. Okay. So what do? We have 2 disjoint paths, and we have NC with the nodes on the number of nodes on these 2 paths. And what we do some blocks of communication. Okay, so in the previous example, we had a block of 5. Okay, so that's why there was the protocol was in. There was one stage where the sender was. It was 6 stages in total, and there was only one block of 5 stages. Okay, so the first stage, the sender sends a message, and then there is a block of communication of 5 stages. So what we do at each block, we apply exactly the same logic as above with almost the same protocol. Okay, so we check sequences of message again as before, and we look when we have a sequence of messages, if we receive the authentication key or not to certify that there was a deviation or not. But then at each block, the difference is that the role of the receiver decoder is played by a different node. So initially, we start with the first block will be the first stage, the sender sends the message to I1 and G1. So and then I1 and G1 will become the new sender, and the receiver will become the successor of I1 and G1. And so we do the first block, and at the end of the first block, we will show that with the same kind of logic, we don't know which intermediary will learn the message at the end of the block, but we can prove that at least one of the 2 successors between I2 and J2 will learn the message. Then we imagine, for instance, that it is the I2 who learns the messages, and we do a new block with the role of the intermediary will now be I2 and G1, and we start a new block, and at the end of the new block, there will be a new node who will learn the correct message. So let's say J2, and then we start again a new protocol with I2 and J2, and etc. And in the end, the receiver will learn the message. Okay. So this can be long, or it can be long or not, depending on who deviates. Okay, if nobody deviates, it can be short, but it can be what we can have. We can have that E1s and I2s and I3, and then at the last block, IK learns the message. But it can be also I1s and G1s and G2s and J2s and I3 and J3. So it can be long. Okay, it can go from both sides. So information can be long to go through the receiver. Okay, so just some remarks for organization theory. So what do we call broadcasting? So when we need broadcasting because we need the authentication key to be publicly known by the neighbors, so because it is used in the protocol to certify that somebody has deviated. Okay, we can see that in an organization as setting up a meeting. For instance, if you have 19 meetings are organized in the previous example, for instance. And what is an authentication key is something that Anne and Bob know that Chris can tell Anne about only if Bob told Chris about it. Okay, so to say that differently, if we have a meeting, we can imagine that the color of the shirt Bob was wearing at the last meeting and Bob had, for instance. Okay, or in this meeting, all of you can say what was the color of my shirt, and that is something that you can certify to certify that you were at this meeting. You can use that as an authentication key. Okay, so just the idea, not the proof, the idea of why this conditional network is necessary. So one, we need 2 disjoint paths from the sender to the receiver. Imagine we had only one. So imagine now we have that the sender can connect to the receiver, but only one path, one player, which is intermediary 1. Okay. Then we have this intermediary will control all the information received by the receiver. So it's not difficult to construct an example, a particular game for particular player function for which it will always prevent the receiver from learning the message. For instance, if the sender and the receiver have the same preferences, but they want to match state, but the receiver wants to unmatch the state. So he has complete opposite preferences. He will always lie, for instance, and the receiver will never learn the message. There always is a strategy for which the receiver will never learn the state, the real state. Okay, so it is not possible in that case to replicate all the equilibria of the direct communication game. Okay. So next, so what we know for now, we know that we have a protocol so that for all networks with two disjoint paths, we can replicate all the equilibrium of the direct communication game. Okay, so basically, what we do, we take the equilibrium distribution of the direct communication game, and the sender, if you want to send the message M to the receiver, we construct a protocol in the network, so the previous protocol, such that we know that after some blocks of communication, the receiver will learn correctly the message M, and will not learn correctly any other message. Okay, so now the question is, can we do more with the network? Can we have more equilibria than the equilibrium of the direct game? And the answer is yes. So what we can do is we can replicate a mediator via the network. So how we do that? We do as follows. So basically, what is a mediator? We want to consider communication equilibria, where there is a mediator who will do some recommendation to the player, and the player will have an incentive to follow them, and this will give more equilibria. Okay, for instance, correlative equilibria, but not all in them. You can have more what we call communication equilibria. So without a mediator, but with a network, we can replicate what a mediator could do. Okay, we can replicate what a mediator could do, but we can replicate that with the players communicating through the network. So how we do that? The first stage, in the first phase, we have that the sender will truthfully report the stage. Okay, just first of all, what do we want to do that? What we want, for instance, an example would be where we can construct one communication equilibrium we can have is that where the sender wants to, for instance, send the message, the real state is omega, and one equilibria could be to transmit this information omega to the mediator, and then the mediator will transmit to the receiver a recommendation. And we can construct equilibria where the mediator will do a random distribution. For instance, with probability 1/2, he will send the correct state to the receiver, and with probability 1/2, he will send another state to the receiver. And we can have examples for which it is better for the sender to commit to this strategy, although he wouldn't do it ex post. Okay? He can commit himself to change his messages, because once he has seen the result of the lottery of the random of the mediator, maybe he would like to change. But if he transmits this information and delegates that to the mediator, he has an interest to do it, an incentive to do it ex ante, and can give him a highest payoff. Okay. So how can we do that on the network if we don't have a mediator? The first phase is that we will have the sender who truthfully reports the state omega to some intermediaries. Okay, so let's do that on this example. We have the sender, the receiver. He will truthfully report the state omega, for instance, to both intermediary 1 and 2. But then we want to replicate what a mediator could do, meaning, for instance, changing the message omega in omega prime with probability 1/2. So how we do that? We will use player S1 and 2. Okay, they will simultaneously draw, let's say, two of them. Let's say sender and the sender and intermediary 1. They will simultaneously draw random numbers X and Y. Okay, and then they will use our protocol to guarantee to transmit this information to player 2. Okay, so we will have the sender will draw the number X and he will transmit it in one stage to player 1 and 2. Okay, and at the same time, player 1 will draw the random number y, and with our previous protocol, it will send it to the sender and to player 2. Okay, the sender, it's easy, it's in one stage, and he will send it to the receiver, and then sender and receiver will transmit it to the second intermediary. So it's exactly as before, except that now in this protocol, the sender will be the intermediary 1 and the receiver will be the intermediary 2. Okay. So now when they have X and Y, it will determine if they want what they do. Okay, so the recommended action. So for instance, if you can imagine that they are drawing two numbers, and if X and Y can be two numbers, they draw uniformly between two numbers A and B. And you imagine that if you receive AA or BB, then you transmit the message omega, or if you received AB or BA, then we assume that we are supposed to send the message omega prime. Okay, so then it means that with probability 1/2, it's what we call the jointly controlled lottery, and with probability 1/2, the player are then supposed to send the message omega, and with probability 1/2, they are supposed to send the message omega prime. Okay. So all the three players, S1 and 2, they know X and Y, so they know the result of this jointly controlled lottery, and so they know which new message they are supposed to send. Either they are supposed to send omega or omega prime or something else. It was just an example. So now the phase 3. So the phase 3 will be that all these three players, they know the new message that will be sent to the receiver. And so we will do three different communication protocols. So the player 1 will send the message to R. At the same time, player 2 will send the message to R. And at the same time, player send will start a protocol to send the message also to the receiver. And in the end, so there will be three protocols running at the same time. And in the end, the receiver will use the majority rule to know which is the correct message. Okay. And so this is a way to replicate a mediator in a communication game. Okay, so just to compare the result now with some related literature. So there is a literature on computer science about that. So not about equilibrium distribution, but what the questions they ask is when it is possible to transmit a message, a reliable message to a receiver. So in computer networks, it's basically they have a sender and the receiver. Okay, they have some network, and we want that the sender transmit correctly the message to the receiver. It's what they call reliability. Okay, so they have two papers, Dolev and Hall, or Flanken and White, but then there are many other papers to general networks and etc. The main important thing is that they do not require robustness. Okay, and also they do not allow for a rich communication possibility. Typically, people are only so. First of all, people are only focusing on either only private messages or complete public messages to neighbors. They don't consider that it is possible to do everything like us. And they do not consider the robustness because so they assume that the people who deviate is fixed before the game. Okay, so there can be several deviators because they assume that it is possible that there is a coalition of K deviators, for instance, who deviate at one stage. But it will be the same K player for all the network. Okay, it's not possible that there is a sequence of different players deviating. In our case, since it's possible that every player deviates at some point. Okay. Then we have some related paper in game theory. So there are some paper on repeated game on networks. So there are some of them where it's not exactly the same. We want to, but paper where the goal is to obtain false theorem when communication is on the network. And so there is some information which need to be transmitted, and the information is who deviated. Okay, there are some players who know who deviated and some others are not, and they want to transmit this information to all other players. So there is this kind of idea of constructing communication protocol. but on all this paper, either there are no network of communication, there are some network in the information, but not of communication, meaning that people can talk to everybody. So it's a case of Ben-Pora and Kahneman and Laclos, one of my previous papers, 2014, where people can talk to everybody. So there is no communication through network. Or if there is, in the other paper, so Renaud Tomala and one of mine, there is communication, but then there is no sequential rationality. Okay, so there is no this robustness condition, and there is no sequential rationality at all. There is only Nash equilibrium. Okay, so so this was the main gap in this literature, is that we didn't have both sequential rationality and communication network. There is also literature on to replicate mediators via decentralized communication. Okay, so there is all this paper, like where they exactly what we did just before. We want to do what a mediator would do just by some TikTok communication among players. But in all of this, there is no networks of communication. People can talk to everybody. Okay, so basically what was the missing steps was robustness to unilateral deviations. Okay, and I will stop here with just this small cartoon if you have some questions.
Nice cartoon. Thank you very much, Marie, for this very nice talk.